Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic, host of the Rush Hour podcast with a breaking news Blake Lively video. I just made a video, and then as soon as I hit publish, we have an update. I just made a video of Blake Lively responding to the fact that Justin Baldoni's sharing his receipts and saying, let the public decide if I'm being a creep here or if I'm just doing my job. Blake said he's actually proving her point, which is that he was making unnecessary advances in a scene. Now Blake is asking the judge for a gag order on Justin Baldoni and Justin's lawyer, I guess not wanting more of this sort of evidence to come out. Now, look, I don't know the specifics. I'm not a lawyer of what would justify needing a gag order, but if they want to respond to accusations being made, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Like in the modern world we live in, if people are able to quote unquote cancel other people, those being canceled should be allowed to provide whatever evidence that refutes the cancellation. Now, I'm not saying if someone's being rightfully canceled that they should intimidate, coerce, harass, retaliate against the other person. But if Justin Baldoni responding to these allegations is quote unquote retaliatory, what kind of world do we live in? You'll never be able to respond to anything ever again. So when it comes to speech, First Amendment wise, my thought always is the best response to bad speech is not to ban it, it's to have better speech. And specifically, this obviously isn't a First Amendment concern, but specifically, the only response to an allegation is to share your version, which here Justin actually has proof. He's got full-on receipts. So it's not necessarily what world do you feel like you live in, but what world objectively do you see. Now, it doesn't mean Blake doesn't have a case. It just means with this specific point, she doesn't have a case. Is there more out there? Is there a reason why Blake doesn't want more being shown? And when we covered this case, and again, I'll read what was said here in a second, but when we started covering this case, the first thing I noticed was as soon as we found out that Blake's side had left out that little sarcasm emoji, and then as soon as we found out that some of the text messages were clipped off between the PR people and we didn't get the full story, I go, oh, we need the full story. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If Blake finds in the iCloud somewhere a ring cam footage of Justin grabbing her butt or doing anything physical, crossing the line in a way that's Justin Baldoni abusing his power, privilege, all of that whatsoever, he's cooked. He's cooked. It's over. I haven't seen that yet. It might exist. There's a lot of evidence out there. I haven't seen that yet. So I withhold my ability to change, or I save for myself the ability to change my opinion. Now, I'm going to share, and again, been live all morning with my Patreon community. We go live for like 2 or 3 hours, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And our friend Luis says, I hate when people make stories public, then want a protective order from the public when things aren't going their way. Yeah, it's kind of like that here. And speaking of doubling down, I'm going to share in this video some comments that were made when Nick Viall covered this case. I told you I would possibly make another video, but now that we're here, baby, let's get into it. So I'll share some comments. Apparently, Nick is sponsored by Mint Mobile, which is a company owned by Ryan Reynolds. And guess what? So am I. I've taken Mint Mobile money, and I'm still going to share my opinion because in the end, I value my audience and my transparency and authenticity with what I'm trying to cover more than any check another company could give me. Like, there's a reason I'm here in my pajamas making content with you. I don't want to work in that corporate structure where I've got someone, oh, I've got to be careful what I say about Ryan Reynolds because I'm taking money from a cell phone company. Get the hell out of here. I can't be bought. We'll just take money from another cell phone company. Where you at, Verizon? Can you hear me now? All right. I'll tell you, I don't care. I'll cover walkie-talkies. I'll just, okay, it doesn't matter. So either way, let's read this. Please shut Justin Baldoni's lawyer up. That's the title of the TMZ article. Again, this was literally just came out moments ago, within the last hour. So Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds want a judge to gag Justin Baldoni's lawyer, claiming he's making false statements about the case. The megastars filed a letter in court Tuesday. In it, I guess they filed this yesterday. This is just coming out. In it, they asked the court to issue a protective order to stop Baldoni's lawyer, led by Brian Friedman, power attorney, from engaging in improper conduct, including going on an alleged harassing and retaliatory media campaign against Blake and Ryan. They say he's violating court rules that stop a lawyer from making statements to the press that are irrelevant to a case and might prejudice the jury. Now, there's several cases going on here. We've got Justin Baldoni suing the New York Times for $250 million. We got Justin Baldoni suing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million. We've got Blake Lively suing Justin, I don't know for how much money, for harassment. And so I don't know what's irrelevant to the case. I mean, this certainly was relevant, right? This was relevant to the point where it was directly responding to one of her claims, which was that they did not record audio. And again, that's not a big deal to say, no, we did. It just goes to show in her complaint, if she thought they weren't recording audio, maybe she could get away with exaggerating what actually happened. On his end, he's like, yeah, we have audio. Here it is. So clearly nothing to hide. She responds and says, this proves my point. I don't know if it does. Now, I don't think the audience is sided on this 100% for Justin. There's people saying that's super creepy. She felt like she was being taken advantage of. Well, like they knew what the scene was. Again, you should have an intimacy coordinator so things like this don't happen. Absolutely. They shouldn't, here's what's really tough too, and this is not me apologizing for him. You should definitely have an intimacy coordinator in scenes like this, a montage where you're kind of getting the shot, but doing different things. And in this case, she claims he touched her lip and sniffed her neck and did all these things that weren't approved. I don't know. I don't know if they were approved or not. I'm sure Justin will have a response to that. And if she can prove that he was making these advances, even though on camera unapproved, she may have a point there. But again, we'll have to see. They say he's violating court rules that stop a lawyer from making statements to the press that are irrelevant to a case and might prejudice the jury. In it, Blake and Ryan specifically mentioned the release of unedited footage from It Ends With Us filming, which Blake's team claims corroborates to the letter what Miss Lively described in her initial complaint back in December. Lively accused Baldoni of harassment, engaging in a coordinated effort to destroy her reputation. Baldoni since filed his own lawsuit against Lively, accusing her of defamation, civil extortion, and other allegations. Baldoni's team released the behind-the-scenes footage from the movie to prove he never made harassing comments, while Blake's team pushed back and said Baldoni never discussed or choreographed the intimacy here, and it made her uncomfortable. So, several different things going on, right? Several different things going on. But I think what's interesting is she claims on like paragraph 48 that he said she smelled good. But in the actual version, him saying she smelled good was in response to her saying she had spray tan on or her makeup was a certain way or whatever. So there was clearly more to the story than a guy just going, you smell good. Like there's more to the story here. So that in and of itself, I think invites this footage. Like this isn't a case about tax evasion where they just randomly show footage. It's like, no, the footage is the proof. So he's just sharing the proof. So I don't think she's got much of a claim there. But again, what do I know? You know? So yeah, pushing back and saying none of this was choreographed, that's going to come down, that's a whole different conversation. Whether or not it was choreographed doesn't refute the argument that there should be a gag order. It seems to me if the gag order is because you're sharing things that are irrelevant, I don't see a scenario where this is all irrelevant. This is perfectly relevant. It's in response to her harassment claims. Why? I mean, honestly though, why should anybody get to claim somebody else harassed them without the person being able to share the evidence? Now, if you say Justin's evidence actually makes him look guilty, well, then she should be happy he's sharing it, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, let it all out there. Let it all out there. I mean, these aren't private videos. These aren't private videos of like revenge. You know, this is what they shot. These are the full take, and you can see the camera angle from literally down on the feet, panning all the way up, the beginning cut to him yelling, for the beginning action to him yelling cut. It's all there. So again, I don't know. I don't think she's got much of a case for a gag order. And to be honest, I think it's bad PR to ask for a gag order because then people go, well, what is she trying to hide? Sources connected to Justin tell TMZ they believe it's grossly unfair to impose a gag order after Justin has been defamed by the New York Times in an article that they say has cost him 3 jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars. All Justin wants to do, the source says, is release videos and text messages to prove the allegations are false. The source adds, it is unbelievable that Blake Lively would go on a takedown campaign against Justin and then immediately turn around and say she wants a gag order so that Justin can't defend himself. Yeah, look, regardless of what you think of the political landscape we live in, we've moved into a world where people will defend themselves and the audience can decide if it's warranted or not. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So if Justin wants to release every text message they ever had, you might say, well, this is crossing the line of, between director and actor confidentiality. Well, there is no legal confidentiality there between text messages, which we've learned. And what's more interesting is this is what you get when someone's on the ropes. He's got nothing to lose. She's got a lot. He's already lost it. She's got a lot more to lose right now. And we'll have to see if there's more to the videos that Justin could leak. The question you have to ask as an audience is, was that the best they have? Because if that video was the best they have, I don't think it's great. I don't think that video is great. I think it's damning in a way, but if Justin has more evidence against her and against her claims, it'll just keep on piling up to the point where people say, we can't trust anything she says because her whole lawsuit was disingenuous. I'm not really sure. So speaking of disingenuous, as promised, we covered this really bonehead bad take by Nick Viall yesterday. I covered this bit by bit on my YouTube channel, and then a big breaking news story came. So I think most people watched the breaking news story, but I encourage you, if you're interested, to see just bad takes, that you're going to get it right here from Nick. And people say, well, Nick, he calls himself the Walmart brand Ryan Reynolds, or Temu Ryan Reynolds, or discount Ryan Reynolds. I don't know, dollar store Ryan Reynolds. Either way, sure, they probably just have some confirmation bias that Ryan was sticking up for his lady. And maybe to an extent, that's what he thought he was doing. But you got to be objective with the evidence as it comes out and realize this guy, Justin, as far as what we've seen right now, is not just some psychopath. He was directing a movie where he had to be intimate with his lead and tried to be the boss. And this is kind of like when you have a parent trying to be a friend. When you're an actor and you have a director, you and the other actor can talk shit about the director behind the scenes. The director wants us to do it this way. We'll rehearse that way. When the actor you're acting with is also the director, then there's this power dynamic. My thought is, when I watched those videos, was that Blake just didn't want to be told what to do. Not with respect to the intimacy parts. That's like going to have to be worked out with whether or not they had an intimacy coordinator, and also what evidence they had beforehand about what they were going to do in that scene. If Blake and Justin had already talked out, hey, this is a scene where we need to show we're falling in love. We're not full out making out. You're still resisting. Maybe they were friends beforehand. I don't really know. But, they literally talked in that scene saying, all right, let's not give it all away. Let's talk a little bit. I'll go in for the kiss. You'll pull away. So when people watch that, if they want to side with Blake, they go, he's totally creeping her out. And you go, well, it depends on what lens you're watching it. If you're watching it as them performing, he's the guy going in and she's the guy going, no, not yet. And then they're having this kind of like playful cat and mouse moment. It really depends on how you watch it, but I don't think you can definitively say in either direction why the vibes are the way they are. So some of these comments I got, I basically responded on Nick's channel and said, look, I'm going to give a different take if people want to check it out. That's all. And my comment got a lot of likes. And it was really interesting. And people said the lawyer he had on, Emily Baker, also followed by Ryan Reynolds. You had to see when she was reading Justin's lawsuit, she was mocking it. So 45 people liked that. So I don't, we know Emily Baker, she's well respected, but some people are saying she's on Ryan Reynolds' side. And again, I think it's foolish to wonder what side people's are on. Everyone's just going to digest this the way they digest it. Someone said, go Dave, Nick and Natalie's take was so shocking. Justin Baldoni has everything on video, as this was taken on a movie set. Nick and Natalie are not journalists. Absolutely insane. And this was an interesting comment. Someone said, I've commented a couple times already. Dave also has Mint Mobile as a sponsor, but that didn't stop Dave from reading Justin's entire lawsuit and considering all the evidence Justin has. Nick, it's time for you to show the same courage Dave has shown. Dave is where we go for an objective review and someone who actually provides facts. Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know. This is all I care about. This is all I care about is this comment I'm about to read. Anna B said, I watched Dave read all 200 pages on his channel, including his thoughts while reading, trying not to take sides, always asking his audience their opinion until he lost his voice. You and your wife haven't done that, so please stop. That being Nick and Natalie. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I want to get feedback from audience, not necessarily because I want to know which way the wind's blowing, but more specifically because I want to be able to see if I have any blind spots. Like, am I reading this right? Like, let's all get into it. And to be quite honest, that's kind of like how a jury acts, right? Like a jury they'll kind of like deliberate and like talk to each other and go, no, you didn't see this, or, and they kind of like work things out in a way more democratic way. So anyway, the comments go on and on. Someone said, I saw some of your video on Popcorn Planet, then I went to your channel to watch the complete, and I subscribed instantly because you report truth like Andy. I just came here to leave a comment under yours. Well, I really appreciate that. And if anybody knows my channel, I got roasted to high hell for my take in the fall regarding The Bachelor. I had to take, sometimes, Greg Grippo, I had to take that was like, hey, the guy's not as bad as people think. Oh my gosh, you're the worst, Dave. Like, I had the same thing take about Shanae. She was a villain. Oh, I feel like she's a little misunderstood. Oh my gosh. So like, I'm going to give you my thoughts. You can give me yours. I'm not bought by anybody. And with all due respect, I want to make sure I get it right, and make sure I get it right. So I'm reserving space. I am reserving space for evidence to possibly come out. I don't think it will, but I'm reserving space that evidence comes out where Justin is guilty of the things she's accusing him of. And then we go, all right, well, she might have made some of these things up or she might have exaggerated, but here's the evidence. He slapped her butt, and anything that happened after that, she had to work with a creep, right? We don't have that. That doesn't exist as far as I've seen. DMs are open, and we're going to watch this play out. So what I ask my audience is what I ask of everyone, whether it be this specific story or following the news or whatever. Leave time to get to the truth. Just leave time. We covered this story about Clayton Echard, The Bachelor. If you're new to my channel, I was threatened with a $120 million lawsuit. I was sued for harassment, and I had a lady that I'd never met before tried to get a restraining order against me. She called the FBI on me for revenge porn, and she called the district attorneys trying to really just get me locked up. She was trying to get me to stop sharing a story that I believed in. And as it turns out, of course, all of her charges against me were dropped, and the county prosecutor is investigating her. She may go to jail, all because we stood our ground 10 toes down and said, we're not going to be pushed around and change our story and change what we believe. And so if you're new here, that's something I hold myself like a lot of pride to, is that the truth will rise to the top. If anything changes here, we'll figure it out. Someone actually left an interesting comment. I'm going to see if I can find it here, comparing this situation to Laura Owens, the person who, like I said, sued me. And they I don't know if I can find it, but they basically said, Dave, you're on the wrong side. This is Dave, you're on the wrong side of this one. Justin Baldoni is the male Laura, and you can't see it. Now, again, Laura is the person who sued me, who I was able to show medical fraud. I was able to prove she had a Fiverr logo on an ultrasound. She faked being pregnant. She faked ovarian cancer. She faked a black journalist. She faked a Jewish agent and an Asian doctor. Why do I say their ethnicities? Because she was using like literal every tool she could. She called me anti-Semitic. Well, she everything she could. She did everything she could to try to beat us. And the truth survived. The truth survived. So if I am on the wrong side of this one, I'm not on a side. I'm just trying to find the truth. Justin, if he is the male Laura, where's the Fiverr logo? Where's the medical fraud? Where's the actual evidence that he did or said anything to hurt Blake Lively? And in fact, the only evidence is that he was trying to get his PR people like, don't use bots, don't plant stories. Like if she wants to dig her own grave, so be it. And that's what it's going to come down to. What's a jury going to decide? And we'll have to see. But again, I have no problem calling it out if I think Nick Viall has a bad take. In fact, we actually saw Dana. Let's see if I can find it again here. Dana left a comment, and she's got a great YouTube channel. I think we're actually going to be swapping content pretty soon. Here's Dana. Dana Bowling says, this is honestly one of the worst takes I've seen on the Blake and Justin story. What's going on, you guys? Like these aren't random commenters. We love our random commenters, but these are people like that are really respected pop culture commentators saying, this is insane. So each one of these comments is one after another, like just not good. And will Nick, I mean, I don't want him to ever change his opinion on coercion, but like how nice would it be if he actually like really broke down the story in an honest way? I mean, he's got a very large platform. But again, that's why I left my comment there, just to say, hey, we can play the algorithm here. We can get subscribers and we can continue trying to share the truth. So again, Let's worry less about what side we're on, and let's worry more about letting the truth rise and being objective as hell. And I think when you do that, you'll get a lot of respect from your audience. I'm going to be going on Shirsty's channel this week to talk about humor as a comedian, how I see Blake Lively's missed attempts at humor. We're going to talk about some psychological aspects that we see, again, not as an expert, but just going, that's interesting. And we're going to just continue to have that conversation. No big deal. And so let's just put down the pitchforks. Let's not join one cult or one side, and let's just say, hey, you know what side we're on? The side of truth. And that'll figure itself out. It certainly won't figure itself out with a gag order, so we'll see how that works out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We were inching our way to 100,000 subscribers for a long time now, and we just did not see light at the end of the tunnel. But as of today, we're in the 88,000 range, and we've been getting over 1,000 new subscribers a day. So let's get to 100,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Commit. And I won't let you down. We'll be back this afternoon, as we are every afternoon, audio and video. I've got the Rush Hour podcast, all of your entertainment, pop culture, news in one place. We'll see you then.